My whole purpose in going over the American Bar Association's understanding and definition of critical race theory was really to empower you, to encourage you to ask better questions. And earlier we went through the four tenets, and there's actually a paragraph that comes after it. And it's actually the whole thing is really long, it's very legalese. So I didn't want to go through all of it because I'm not a lawyer. I don't even play one on TV. But I do want to just point out something that stood out to me as I finished up the tenets of CRT. And again, I want you to go back and look and compare what I'm saying to what you understand as reality. And all right, so earlier we were finishing up with standpoint epistemology. So look right here. And I was looking through this and I thought this was so interesting. Listen to what it says. CRT does not define racism in the traditional manner as solely the consequence of discrete, irrational bad acts perpetuated by individuals, but is usually the unintended but often foreseeable consequences of choices. You see the problem there? You know somebody's intentions. I don't know how you know that. CRT doles out superpowers. Critical race theory doles out superpowers left and right and center. So you know that the discrete, irrational bad acts perpetuated by individuals, but is usually the unintended, but often foreseeable consequences of choices. You know what their choices are, and you know that they were doing the wrong thing. You know that. How do you know that? I'd love to know, how do you know that? But wait, it actually gets better. It exposes the ways that racism is often cloaked in terminology regarding mainstream, normal, or traditional values or neutral policies, principles, or practices. In order to say that something is normal, it is normal to have a 98.6 degree temperature. That is normal. To have 101 temperature is not normal. Is there racism in that? It is normal to drive 25 miles in a school zone. Is that irrational and racist to say that? This is silliness. And it is normal to put on your pants one leg at a time. That's mainstream thought, that you put on your pants one leg at a time. Is that racist? I don't understand. A traditional family is a husband and a wife. That's racist, apparently. That's a traditional value, that a man and a woman be married and have children and live together. That's what they have written right here. Again, ask better questions. This is not acceptable. But watch this. It gets better. And as scholar Tara Yasso asserts, CRT can be an approach used to theorize, examine, and challenge the ways in which race and racism implicitly and explicitly impact social structures, practices, and discourse. It's already assumed that racism exists. It's air. It's all-seeing. It's everywhere. It's everywhere in these people's minds. It's a God, lowercase g. It's a God to them. I know it sounds bombastic, but it's a God. Think about it. I mean, CRT can be an approach to theorize, examine, and challenge the ways in which race and racism implicitly and explicitly impact social structures, practices, and discourse. But what if it doesn't? Do you apply? What if it's truly just water in a glass? It ain't got nothing to do with race. It's just water in a glass. Do you get to assume racism? Do you get to impugn racism where it wasn't? Like, what happens? Continue. CRT observes that scholarship that ignores race is not demonstrating neutrality, but adhering to the existing racial hierarchy. So if I say, so apparently just to say that 2 + 2 = 4 has no racial ramifications at all, that alone is subscribing to some racial hierarchy, because I refuse to treat math differently for Black kids, brown kids, and others. Everybody needs to know that 2 + 2 = 4. But that's bad. Okay. For the civil rights lawyer, this can be a particularly powerful approach to examining race in society. particularly because CRT, here it comes, CRT has recently come under fire. Understanding CRT and some of its primary tenets is vital for the civil rights lawyer who seeks to eradicate racial inequity in this country. But if racial inequities are in this country, doing more racial inequity would make it right. How? How does that even work? This is a really long article. I would love for you to check it out. Feel free to, peep it. I left the description down below. There's a lot in here, and it's really informative because it does show where they come from with this idea that critical race theory is something that we should subscribe to and that you should kowtow to. I don't think you should. I think you should ask far more questions than these people are giving answers to, and require them before we move forward. Explain to me how this plays out practically, because please keep in mind, we've only discussed how it plays out in race right now. There are tons of different other examples of it being played out in other things. Again, gender and sex and race. No, there's a lot of different ways that this can be played out, and it does present itself to be many problems. So I want you to think about that. Please make sure you peep this down in the description below. Grace and peace.